I'd like to welcome everybody to the Town Council meeting, Monday, March 3rd, 2025, 7 p.m., McKinney Council Chamber. Agenda item 1, Pledge of Allegiance.
The United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Moving on to agenda item number 2, roll call. Madam Secretary?
Councillor Chenier.
Present.
Councillor Daniel.
Present.
Councillor Dow.
Present.
Councillor Kelly.
Present.
Councillor Lazo.
Present.
Councillor Marchetti.
Present.
Councillor Montigny.
Present.
Councillor Ortiz.
Present.
And Councillor Rivas. Present.
We have a quorum. Moving on to 3, consider and accept meeting minutes of February 24, 2025.
So moved.
We have a motion by Councilor Ortiz, seconded by Councilor Chenier. Any additions, corrections, or deletions to those minutes of the meeting? If not, all those in favor? Councilor Marchetti?
But the only thing I wanted to point out is that the first reading on the performance surety deposit revolving fund, the first meeting would be 2/24, not 2/23. It says 2/23, so that's all. Thank you.
Any other additions, corrections, or deletions to those minutes? If not, all those in favor? Opposed? Unanimous of all present. Moving on to agenda item number 4, subcommittees. Department of Public Works, Councilor Chenier.
No report, no meeting scheduled.
Education and Human Services, Councilor Montigny.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. No report and no meeting scheduled this time.
Moving on to General Government, Councilor Kelly.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. No report and no meeting scheduled.
Moving on to Planning and Development, Councilor Daniels.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Through you, we had a meeting on Tuesday, February 25th. There were 7 items on tonight's agenda that were discussed, and we'll talk about them when we get to them.
Thank you. Moving on to Protection of Person and Property, Councilor Dow.
Thank you, Chair. Through you, no report, no meeting scheduled at that time.
Moving on to agenda item number 5, Chairman's announcements. I've just got one pleasant, we had a great meeting on the Rios Tot Lot Park, or Recreation Park, that we're working on. I'd just like to thank Councilor Daniels, the Rios family, Peg Dean. It was our first site visit, and a lot of great ideas came out of it, and we're looking forward to moving on it and start working on it and get some numbers and stuff like that. There were a lot of citizens in town that are willing to donate time, money, and efforts towards this cause. And again, I'd just like to thank Councilor Daniels for taking a lead on a lot of the setting up the meetings and making sure we're all there. And thank you very much, Sonny. Moving on to Town Manager's announcements. Mr. Town Manager, any announcements?
I have no announcements.
Moving on to presentations. Town Manager Substance Abuse Council presentation by Deputy Chief Jose Dingy is going to be canceled. We're going to move on to a meeting in the future. Moving on to Hazard Mitigation Plan presentation by Chief Paul Normandy. Chief?
So yes, we've gone through the process here with the hazard mitigation plan. And this is a review after the last time it was adopted and approved here in Southbridge in 2019. I provided all you a little slide deck paperwork for your reviewing pleasure. Also the PowerPoint up behind there. This was a grant that was put together by myself and positioned with FEMA and MEMA in around 2021 and worked very diligently on getting that approved. Basically what it was going to do was to rewrite our hazard mitigation plan, which has to be done for every 5 years. That grant was approved, and I'll just jump right into the hazard mitigation plan why are we here? So I applied for the grants in 21-22. In May of 23, I came about you guys to tell you about the grant and what it was all about. Basically, it was to review, draft, meet with stakeholders in our state, federal, and local governments. We announced a selection of 40, and on that grant we announced that there was a selection of 46 communities and tribal nations for building resilience infrastructure and communities directing technical assistance, which is the BRIC grant. I was one of only one town in the state of Massachusetts, along with other towns in New England, but this is a very competitive program. Like I said, that's where we are today. So we reviewed. Last year around this time, we met with the BRIC team, which is members from FEMA and MEMA, Massachusetts MEMA, and met with the DPW director, police department, a representative from the town manager's office, and we worked diligently. I counted up today, there was about 37 meetings. Some of them were an hour, some of them were 2 hours. So we've gotten in 200 plus hours of work into this draft that you've been electronically received. What is the hazard mitigation plan? Formulates a strategic plan to identify and reduce risks from natural disasters. It's required to be updated every 5 years, as I've already said. It also helps secure federal funding for projects that improve town resilience. Why does this matter for Southbridge? Protecting lives and property. Southbridge faces risks for flooding, severe storms, and other natural disasters as we've experienced before. The first picture on that slide is from the flood of '55. And also then the second picture on the bottom is obviously from the tornado that we had go through town. This is a proactive hazard mitigation plan that helps reduce damage, protect residents, and ensure public safety. It's a description for us for what we do when these type of events happen. This also is without the approved hazard mitigation plan. Southbridge cannot apply for FEMA disaster relief for mitigation grants. So any one of these events, unfortunately, if it does occur, at the end of the day, we would not be able to get reimbursement for it if we did not have this plan approved by you guys tonight. This funding is critical for infrastructure improvements and emergency preparedness projects. So why does this matter for Southbridge? Is that it's meeting legal and planning requirements that are set forth by the FEMA and MEMA. Approving this plan tonight ensures Southbridge stays compliant with prepared for future hazards, and it's keeping the town projects on track. Approval of this plan tonight is required for an upcoming town hall generator project, wastewater improvements, and stormwater drainage projects. Basically, this is a real short presentation. I think we've talked about this in the past years. But as we move forward, you know, the next steps for this, and I thank you all for taking the time tonight to look at this and reviewing the documents, but I'll be open for questions. But the next steps are town council adoption for the plan to be approved. Move forward for key infrastructure projects, including the town hall generator project, as I just said, and soon to be a wastewater improvement and stormwater drainage scoping studies. And this will provide us all continuing working together to ensure a safer, more resilient Southbridge. There's my contact information on there, and also on the handouts. If there's any questions, this is a 180-page document as a draft as it stands. I do have it on my phone for review. I did not print it, so I think you all have electronic copies. But this was definitely a well-orchestrated event over the last little over a year to get this plan together. There were supposed to be representatives from MEMA and FEMA tonight, but with government shutdowns, they're all locked down. So they were going to do a short presentation also just to fill you in on what all the extra stuff that we worked on. So if there's any open questions.
Are there any questions of the chief on this plan? If not, thank you very much.
Done there.
Oh, Council Marquetti.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, through you. I did try to read most of your hazardous mitigation plan that you presented it to us. It's about 231 pages long. I got to about the appendixes, and then I said, that's enough. I read enough. But I mean, it was a pretty good paper that you presented. The first part of it was a history of Southbridge, the demographics, population, housing, income. So it was pretty interesting. I think some of it should probably be updated, though. I mean, on page 15, median property value of $222,900. I think today that's probably about $325,000 to $370,000. So I think that probably needs to be a little updated at this point. It also, in there, it identified natural hazards, and some of them that caught my eye was dam failure, extreme heat, and flooding. Potential dam hazard, the Westfield Dam is the highest, largest storage capacity of all the dams that were listed. So are there any problems with the Westfield Dam that you know of?
As of right now, through the chairman, as of right now, there's an updated report that comes out yearly from the engineers that do that dam. As of right now, they don't foresee any problems. They have regular seepage that happens. Over last year, I think right around March or April, we had a very high level of water. I contacted them and they weren't too concerned about the levels of water. They were able to release when they needed to relieve pressure. But there's a lot of seepage and that's very normal.
So why are there sensors down there? I've gone down there and there's sensors all over the dam area.
That is way out of my
All right.
perspective.
On page 48, the vulnerability to extreme heat and cold, high risk. This winter, we had several weeks of very extreme cold, and I did send out an email asking if the community center was going to be opened, but no one could give me an answer on if the community center was going to be open for people who maybe are homeless or people whose heat went out. A community center is supposed to be a facility in case of extreme cold, so I was just wondering why it wasn't open during that period.
So during those periods of high cold and wind, and the town, there were several sites in town that were open. Community center was open, the library was open during regular business hours. The last event, I believe, was like in November. Actually, the YMCA had linked up with the director of the YMCA, and she opened the doors for people to come in and use the showers. So there are places that are opening. It's just unfortunate part of it is that some of the people that need these type of environments to go to, they don't get the information. They don't have a phone or they don't have the web access. So the unfortunate part is trying to find these people to talk to them, and I've been on a couple of meetings with a resilience group here in town to try to figure out what the best way is to do that outreach.
All right, thank you. Going on, there was a section on flooding. Several areas identified as flooding hazards, including Worcester Street, right where the new fire station is going to go. Is there going to be any problem with flooding in that area?
I can't say yes or no, but according to the maps that were presented, actually right at the beginning of last year during these group meetings, the new floodplain maps were released. And those are done by FEMA, and those were released, and it did not get to the fire station. Obviously, if you were around in 55, you probably saw the devastation that did happen on Worcester Street, and I don't believe it went that far. I was not alive, so.
All right. Some of the reasons that were listed for the other areas in town that potential flooding, tree blockage, culvert, undersized inlets, general blockage, flooding issues behind Big Y. So are there any plans to fix these problems, or is this just to identify the problems?
So a little off topic of the hazard mitigation plan, it does mention those items that you're talking about. And with the recent DPW director situation, we've been in very long conversations with him to talk about, as I put in the PowerPoint, wastewater improvement projects, stormwater drainage scoping studies. Those are the things that we're looking on right now. We looked at the plan itself because it had to be completed and approved by the town council. But moving forward, the generator here at the town hall is very important. We're going to write a grant for that with the assistance of Peg Dean and the rest of the FEMA people. And then we're going to work with the DPW group over there to find out about what the next steps are with the wastewater, stormwater projects. All of this stuff, this BRIC DTA group that I talked about in the beginning, will help us write all these things, help us write the grant, take a lot of man hours off the people here in town to try to do this. And this was all a grant that we still have about 18 months left for these people to work for us. So those projects are in the chute, but we have to peck away as we keep going.
All right. And then towards the end of the part that I read, federal funding sources available all are FEMA. And let's hope that FEMA is still around in the next couple of months or even the next year, because from what I hear, there's plans to do away with it. So, but thank you. That's all I have.
I don't know the status of politics on that whole thing. I probably hear the same thing that all of you do too. FEMA and MEMA, as far as I know, MEMA right now, the group has been put on a shutdown or a hold. I just had a conversation with a MEMA representative today about this particular plan. So MEMA, which is Massachusetts, is still working, and we're just keeping to move forward. Like I said, FEMA was supposed to do this whole presentation with me and they were gonna do a real fancy one. So I just said, you know what, we can't let this go. This has a timeline, so we want to make sure that it gets pushed through so we can get this approved.
Thank you. That's all I have.
Councilor Rivas?
Thank you, through you. And I apologize, I haven't gone through this with a fine-tooth comb. It's a lot of pages. So this may already be in here, but I skimmed it and couldn't locate it. But I know you just talked about some of the resources, that you talked about work with the YMCA, and just thinking about some of our previous meetings and collaborations with resources. Is that included in here, sort of like community-based resources for when an incident happens? And then the second part of that question, or second question to go along with that, are there any plans to present this to any of the community-based organizations or coalitions so that they're aware of the plan?
So the first part is that, yes, it is in there, and there's always plans to do that. To talk about the early education and the education part of it, that is in there with the school department's emergency plans, along with anything else that happens in town. The plans are here, they're in black and white, but as we all know, things can go awry on a particular storm or event, or how quickly things come on. So we have to adapt as best we can. Do the emergency stuff first, like the real life-threatening property safety, but those things are addressed in here.
Great, thank you.
Yeah.
And the second piece, are there any plans to, kind of present this to, like, the Southbridge Community Connections Coalition, or the group that's meeting around the WCAC group?
The resilience group?
Yes. Yes.
Yes and yes. We will definitely, if you recall back, you maybe have received through the town hall, we did surveys for this plan. So surveys did come back from all that. There's a lot of good data in there, and we did include it into this plan. But I don't see why we can't put some of this, but not all of this plan into an educational piece for community services that we're involved with. I think it's very important for these people to know that there's something there, and this is how we're going to try to handle it. I think in the perfect world, I see, even though the hazard mitigation plan didn't specify it as the 7-alarm fire, we rallied to get those people moved out of there. They got them off-site, brought them to the shelter, worked with MEMA and FEMA, and got them a whole bunch of resources after the fact. So even though it's not written black and white in the plan, that's how it's supposed to work. So, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. That's it.
Any other questions of the chief? Chief, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Moving on to Citizens Forum, are there any citizens that would like to address the town council on any issues not on the agenda? State your name and address.
My name's John Podolsky, 3 Jennison Street. Later on today, you're going to be addressing the naming of a park or something. This isn't about the naming of the park. But recently, a dedicated, devoted, kindly gentleman that served this town, both in the school system and in the cable office, the late Bob Dupree, left this world. And I was speaking with the person that we would think someday, hopefully many years from now, we might consider naming that room back there after Paul Zotos. A lot of people realize Paul did a lot in building that chamber, but Paul himself would acknowledge, and did with me earlier today, that Bob Dupree, who was there 20 years before Paul, has been very dedicated. He was Mr. Cable up at, I think what we call it, audio-visual, when it first came out, up at the high school. And tonight's probably not the night to do it, And I don't know exactly which committee one would go to. But please, in your wisdom as a group, consider it's nice when we name. Like Larry Hyman, I sometimes smile. I remember Mr. Hyman as a boy. Down at the theater, very considerate man, served this town, served as a chairman, was not of the same faith that most of us, but was accepted with open arms. He was a good example of people. It's nice to name things after those that dedicate. Some of you are going to have buildings, not buildings, or maybe buildings, rooms named after you someday because of your dedication. Please consider in your deliberations the naming maybe of the cable room back there after Bob Dupree. He was a very good man. Thank you.
Any other citizens who would like to address the town council? If there are none, we'll move on to agenda item number 9, vote to approve and adopt the National Hazard Mitigation Plan for the town of Southbridge in accordance with MGL Chapter 40 and authorize Town Council Chairman Scott Lazo to sign the mitigation plan on behalf of the town of Southbridge Town Council.
So moved.
Motion by Shinya, seconded by Ortiz. Discussion. There's no discussion. All those in favor? Opposed? Unanimous of all present. Moving on to 10, vote to enter into an agreement with Nancy Selvage in response to the town's call for art funded by New England Foundation for the Arts and authorize the town manager to sign all related paperwork.
Mr. Chair, would it be...
There a motion?
So moved.
There a second?
Second.
There's a motion, second.
Mr.
Councilor
Chair,
Shinya.
would it be in order to make a motion to table this and send it back to subcommittee for further study?
Second.
If that's the feeling. There's a motion to table.
I'll make that motion to table.
Motion to refer.
To refer. Motion to refer this back to subcommittee for further study.
There's a motion to refer, and there's a second by
Second.
Councilor Marquetti. Discussion? Go ahead, Councilor Shinya.
The reason I did this is I supported this on the subcommittee meeting last week, but since that time, I've heard a lot of negative comments regarding the style of the artwork. So because of that, people being not happy with it, I would like to go back for further study to see if those people would come forward, explain what they would like to have, and for the committee to look at it if they want to change it, because there was actually some questions with the committee about, heat and cold and those kind of things, and Ms. Dean did respond to those questions with us, but I think to bring those questions to a subcommittee for further study would be, I think, a good thing for the community.
Did this go to subcommittee already?
Yes.
Yes, it did. It was brought
And
forward.
the people that complained were at the subcommittee?
No.
Okay. Any further discussion?
It was brought forward, a positive vote of 2-1 at that time.
Positive recommendation. Let's deal with the motion to refer. Discussion on the motion to refer, then we'll go back to the main motion. Go ahead.
I guess my question is, why wouldn't we be able to vote on this and then sort of ask the artist to consider, adjustments? I don't understand why we would have to refer it back.
If I may.
Councilor Shinya?
Because if we vote on this tonight as presented, that particular kind of art is going to be what it is. We can bring it back to say, make suggestions to her, but if it's already been voted on and approved, I think it ties our hands to it. We all got the email, I think, over the weekend from a lady regarding it, and I just think it'd be good for the community. If we vote for this tonight, it goes as presented. And if we just send it back for further study, it would either come back and leave it alone or make some changes.
Peg.
Chair, thank you through you. The time-wise, is any time-wise to delay any?
I think, Peg Dean, could you answer that question, please?
I apologize, I was talking to the fire chief. What was the question?
We're looking, the question was, there's a councilor that wants to refer it back to subcommittee for further study. Councilor Dow wanted to know if there was any time frame, and I'm sure that Council Rivas probably has another question before we close it out. But Council Dow?
Just to see if any time frame will miss anything if I go back. Do we have anything specific deadline for?
Yeah, we have to complete the project by June. We already have the $15,000 in our account. It was paid up front because we'd achieved these milestones of, going through the course that we went through, this call for art. We learned how to do a call for art. We got the first bunch of money. Then when we went into the call for art, when we published it, we got another chunk of money. And then the last milestone was that we actually, we recommended the artist to the town council, and they gave us the last chunk of money.
Council Dow?
Do you have any comment if we bring it back to the subcommittee for more discussed? Is that okay? How you feel about it?
But it's whatever's the town council's opinion. The selection committee was the redevelopment authority, and there were a few members that participated with them. They went out for these calls for art. They only got 2 responses back. The comment from Council Rivas, whether we can change that piece of art, we cannot. Yeah, so it is, what they had proposed. And of the 2, we can provide you the 2 that we were given. The New England Foundation of the Arts was impressed with the quality of the piece of art that we are recommending. And I understand that there'll always be opinions of art, but we tried to be, we tried to have a public process with this from the start. We actually came up with, in the front end, sort of descriptions of, what the town would want in a potential call for art, and we didn't get a lot of feedback during that process, even though we'd asked for and looked for input and feedback back then. So unfortunately, it's like a lot of projects where, we hope to get public engagement on the front end of a project, and then it's when we get to the time of actual delivery that we unfortunately hear the feedback that we wish we would have gotten.
Continue one more thing, Chair.
Go ahead, Council Dow.
So we have enough time to say till June to give some residents opportunity to speak and say the opinion to bring it back?
Sure, I would say absolutely. The only thing I'd be concerned about is if you started the process over. I don't know if you'd have enough time to actually publish another call for art and actually get back responses in time to be able to enter into the contract and have the installation done by June.
So we have to go back from the beginning if we bring it back to the subcommittee.
I apologize for not being clear. By all means, you have time for input. If you wanted to give yourselves another month for input, I don't believe you'd have enough time to actually start the process over if you wanted to do another call for art, would be my opinion.
Thank you.
Council Junior and then Council Rivas.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I do follow social media, and Councilor Marchetti put the sculpture out on social media, and it was a tremendous amount of response to that particular item. Over the weekend, we got an email from a resident that I could read it if you'd like, but I don't think it's necessary, that is opposed to it. So I just felt that it was important to go back to subcommittee and come back for the next meeting. I don't have a problem just to see if we generate more interest for this. Shame on me, I only became aware of this last week when this came before us. We can't go to every meeting. I try to do as many meetings as I can, but I just think it's important after the response that we saw on social media and the email that I got over the weekend.
I do remember the last words of the council or the subcommittee when we had approved the mural. We're in the next iteration of an art project to please allow it to be historic, please allow it to have, to capture sort of the feeling of what the town council wants. And so I respect if you would like to get more feedback and make sure that this is in the vein of the current town council, by all means. The descriptions we did use were things like, appreciating the town's history, our culture, our current projects that were happening right there, related to the rail trail and to the downtown development. So the sneaker, I think, was a theme that was, the Let's Get Going theme was, I think, probably more related to the rail trail. So it may not have captured that feeling of history, maybe, that the town was looking for.
Councilor Rivas?
I'm not opposed to bringing it back. I definitely think, people have a lot of opinions and they want to be heard, and that's important. Could we bring in the artists and maybe thinking like maybe the artists can get some of the feedback and might be willing to adjust it in a way where, as a reflection of the feedback that we'd be getting? Because I do see the connection to the rail trail and the let's get moving, but I can understand where some of the criticism is coming from. And so maybe there's some common ground there where the artists could come in and just hear from the community.
It's whatever the will of the council is, by all means, if you would want to do it at a town council meeting, or if you would want us to hold a separate meeting and ask the artists to attend, whatever you think is appropriate. I still don't believe, though, that the sculpture that they have presented can be altered.
So I am to understand that sending this back to subcommittee will not hurt the process of continuing? Because I've got to be honest with you, I don't think Councilor Senior and I are artists, but if we have the time to look at it again, take a second chance at it, I think maybe the council should see what input we're going to get. We'll bring it up at the next meeting if that's okay with the council once we get the subcommittee.
Mr. Chair, through you to Ms. Dean, I did forward you the email. You probably didn't get the email because I don't see your name on it. So I did forward you the email to look at it and understand at least what this particular lady thinks about the art. So wherever it falls.
Councilor Kelly?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, through you. This is a piece of artwork. It's been vetted already by the Planning and Development Council. It's been vetted by Planning and Development Subcommittee. It passed in both of those bodies. We can open it up and we can have people come down and give their opinion on art, but if I put a Picasso up here, I get 100 different opinions on what it is, or what it shouldn't be, and why we shouldn't have it in the town. And I just, this is a piece of art. It's supposed to, good art will mean something to different to everybody. So I don't see really what the utility of sending it back down to Planning and Development is, frankly. So I would vote against that.
Any further discussion? Councilor Marquetti?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I was the one who voted against this piece of art. And I said at the meeting that I thought it looked a little bizarre to me. I didn't care for it, but I do agree with Councilor Shenier, who said, art is in the eye of the beholder. So I did put it on Facebook, and I asked for people's opinion. And it wasn't, everybody's going to have a different opinion. It was overwhelmingly, people were against this artwork. It's a bizarre piece of artwork. There's also some issues about safety. I know the artist tried to tell us that, it wasn't going to get too hot in the summertime. It's stainless steel. It's going to get hot. In the wintertime, it's going to get cold. And if you're going to have kids jumping through this thing, I am concerned about the safety of this artwork, not just because of how bizarre it looks, but it's something that could be dangerous for kids. And I don't see how it would even be fun jumping through this thing. It's going to get marked up with graffiti. I know that the town manager said, well, the DPW can clean it. Well, another job that the DPW now is going to have to take on with all the other jobs that they have to do in this town. I also read about this artwork from this artist from Boston, that it was supposed to be something about the environment. It was environmentally friendly. Well, stainless steel is recyclable, but it also has vinyl on it, and vinyl is very harmful for the environment. So I don't know how she figures vinyl is going to be good or economic or environmentally friendly. I don't know where she's coming with this. I do know that this artist built this for Concord, Mass, and now she's going to move it around from town to town, and each town is going to be paying for this. I wouldn't call it a sculpture, I would call it an installation. When I think of a sculpture, I think of something that's carved from marble or something. This is just a stainless steel contraption that you're supposed to jump in and out of. I don't really see the benefit of it, and an overwhelmingly amount of people on Facebook said they were opposed to this installation. Now I know some people might say, well, you know, you'll get this on Facebook. Well, some counselors, they get their feedback from the local bar, they get their feedback from the coffee shop, they get their feedback from the pizza shop, from the pizza joint. I got my feedback from Facebook. I don't criticize anybody for where they get their feedback from. I hope you don't criticize me for where I get my feedback from. So I would like to refer this back, and I think some people have asked, why don't we just put a nice little garden there, some trees, some benches. People could go over to Hope's and get some ice cream and sit there and have their ice cream. I don't think we need this bizarro piece of work down on that little pocket park. So that's all I have. Thank you.
Councilor Dow. Go ahead, Councilor Dow.
Thank you, Chair, through you. I agree with Councilor Shinyar, should go back to review by our citizen. I do not agree with Facebook because most of the people come and don't live in town. They have nothing to do except sit on media and bash the people working hard or try to improve things or other. I don't think any project Dean working on is Bazaar. I think she's doing a great job. She improved with all these time, almost 4 years working with her, all these grants, all these money, all these things she do. I do not agree with that word. Media, it's half, 80% is fake. They're not from town. They don't live in town. They're just common. And I agree with Councilor Sheena to go back, just to review it one more time, and we'll move forward with it. Thank you.
Councilor, excuse me, Peg Dean.
Thank you. Never politics. If I could just clarify, the piece will be the town's. It is not to be taken back. It is temporary art because it's not, what is permanent is relative, and so it's temporary. We wanted to get something that would last a while, so we were happy with this piece, but it is ours to keep. And in that vein, we could also move the piece. We wouldn't have to keep it there forever if we didn't want to. And then just, I guess, thinking out how this could play out. If for some reason the town didn't want to go forward, we could always surrender back the $15,000 to the New England Foundation for the Arts and just have that granite slab stay there. And there are benches already there and trees that have been installed in the pocket park.
Any other discussion by council? I'm very curious about this. Do we have to remove the one in front of the library if they don't like this one? We have a sculpture on the library lawn that looks pretty dangerous. I don't know what it is, but I think it's beautiful when you drive by. And I'm just going to give you the Daniels line. Why not Southbridge? Our work is in the eye of the beholder. When they painted the side of McCarthy's building, I looked at it and I thought I would have seen more of what Southbridge was, but it grew on you. And it ended up being part of Central Street. And I think the artwork on Main Street, I'm kind of like this about going back to subcommittee. We already went to subcommittee. If it went to subcommittee and was approved, I think I'm going to vote in favor of going through with it tonight. Any other discussion by anybody else? Roll call vote.
Okay. Councilor Shenier.
Yes.
Councilor Daniel.
No.
Councilor Dow.
Yes.
Councilor Kelly.
No.
Councilor Lazo.
No.
Councilor Marquetti.
Yes.
Councilor Montigny.
No.
Councilor Ortiz.
Yes.
Councilor Rivas.
Yes.
Okay. 5 yes. 4 no.
Refer back to subcommittee. Moving on to agenda item number 11, vote to apply for the Urban Agenda Grant for $50,000 to reconstruct the Pocket Park at Main Street and Central Street, and authorize the town manager to sign all related paperwork.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Senior, seconded by Ortiz. Discussion. Council? Council Daniels?
Thank you. This was referred positively by a 3-0 vote.
Council Marquetti?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Happy to support this. I would just hope that we can change the name of these parks from Pocket Park, call them something else, name it after somebody, whatever. I know Mario used to have his restaurant right there. Let's name it the Mario Piccioni Park or something, instead of these pocket parks. Thank you.
Any further discussion on the main motion? If not, all those in favor? Opposed? Unanimous of all present. Moving on to agenda item number 12, vote to apply for a Mass Works expression of interest for $5,500,000 to reconstruct the portions of the Hamilton Street, Central Street, and Foster Street nearest Main Street to Main Street, and if approved, proceed with the full application and authorize the town manager to sign all related paperwork.
So moved.
Motion by Senior, seconded by Ortiz. Discussion. Councilor Daniels.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. This was voted positively to move forward by 3-0.
Any further discussion? Councilor Marquetti.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Glad to see some funding for downtown Southbridge. Been a long time coming. Thank you.
Any further discussion? Councilor Dow.
I want to say thank you for Ms. D.
It's all credit to council, I shouldn't say this very loudly. If I may, through you, Chair, this is all credit to the chair and to the previous DPW director, along with whomever else, the town manager, working together on this. I pushed the papers, that's all.
Thank you.
This is part of that restaurant district. We're going to work on Central Street so we can upgrade Central Street. A lot of ideas, one way, wider sidewalk on one side parking. There's a lot of ideas in the pipe, but I think by taking Central Street, connecting Main Street to the TIPS project, I think it's going to be really, really good for Southbridge, and moving forward, there's going to be a lot of planning and development on it. Any further discussion? If not, all those in favor? Opposed? Unanimous of all present. Moving on to 13, vote the timely expenditure waiver from the Executive Office of Housing and Livable Communities for the CDBG FY 22-23 grant year to allow us to then apply for the CDBG FY 25 grant year and authorize the town manager to sign all related paperwork.
So moved.
Motion by Senior, seconded by Dow. Discussion. Council Daniels.
This was voted unanimously to move forward.
Any other discussion? If not, all those in favor? Opposed? Unanimous of all present. Moving on to 14. Vote entering into an agreement with BSC Group for $255,750 using Mass Works funds to designate Phase 2 of the River and Crane Street and authorize the town manager to sign all related paperwork.
So moved.
Motion by Dow, seconded by Ortiz. Discussion. Councilor Daniels.
This was voted unanimously forward.
Goes unanimous at subcommittee. Any discussion? If not, all those in favor? Opposed? Unanimous of all present. Moving on to 15. Vote to approve the use of $60,000 in Chapter 90 funds for police details during the River and Crane Street construction.
Second.
Motion by Dow, seconded by Ortiz. Discussion. Councilor Daniels.
This was voted to move forward, but by a 2-1 vote.
Any further discussion? If not, all those in favor? Opposed? Unanimous of all present. Moving on to 16, vote the submission of a community planning grant expression of interest for $150,000 to support a patent zone initiative and accessory dwelling units and infill development, and authorize the town manager sign all related paperwork.
Second.
Motion by Dow, seconded by Ortiz. Discussion. Councilor Senior.
Again, I'm going to ask the same question I probably asked the other night during subcommittee. Is this it's going to be a bylaw that has no enforcement, correct?
If I may, through you, Chair, I do not see the town planner. She was here. She must have had to step out for an emergency. This is not a bylaw. This is a request. Should I allow the town manager? Okay. This is a request to create some tools to be able to be proactive in light of the ADU law.
So if I may to go, my concern is just to make sure that we understand that it's going to be a bylaw that doesn't have enforcement.
Town manager?
Thank you. This is not a bylaw, not a bylaw, not a bylaw. This is simply a planning tool to assist for the infill in any ADUs, that if somebody wants an ADU and they are in a district, they could simply contact the planner and there would be plans that are available. It is not a bylaw at all. It has nothing to do with the bylaw. ADUs are going to be allowable by right, correct? So all this is given a planning tool that individuals, sorry, I got a cramp in my leg, that individuals can contact us and go in and we'll have a catalog of plans that they can simply say, I want to build an ADU. They could say what area they are, and there'll be a bunch of different plans that they can go that are already pre-approved by the planning, by the building department, and would speed up the building process.
Comment?
No, I'm unsure what's been said already, but the purpose of this is to be able to give residents more tools. The idea of allowing these as permit-ready plans would have an average person be able to more easily build one of these units on their own property if they want, be that in a location that already has a single-family home, or in the cases when there's going to be smaller infill lots that the new Affordable Homes Act also allows for development on previously undersized lots. And the intention of this too is to be specific to Southbridge. That's the purpose of a planning process, that there'd be input from the community. There would be professionals that look at the current neighborhood character and give input on what would already fit with what exists here, and what people like about Southbridge and would want to add in smaller unit housing.
Councilor Kelly, then Councilor Rivas.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Chairman, through you. So, as I understand it, really what this is if I decide my family decides we're going to bring my mother-in-law into our space, but we need a place for her to live. She wants to live on her own. So I want to put an ADU on my property. I can go out and hire somebody to design one for me, I suppose, or I could call up the building department and say, do you have plans already ready-made that I can use? And the building department will say, yes, sir, we do have plans, and why don't you come down and take a look at the plans? We have several. They're all pre-approved, and any one of these will work. So I've just saved myself some money by not having to hire somebody to do the design for it. Doesn't prevent anybody from doing a design, doing their own work and plan, and then getting it approved by the building department. But this is a way to really, kind of a shortcut for people as an option. And that's all it is an option. Am I correct in that?
Yes, that is the intention.
Thank you.
Councilor Rivas.
Thank you, through you. I did listen to the subcommittee hearing. You mentioned developers had already contacted you about the accessory dwelling, and is it my understanding that this would apply also to, or is that the infill development, where this gives them an incentive to keep to the character of our community, and because it would facilitate the process of them going through the building inspector and the planning board? Is that correct?
Yes. There have been, through the building department, requests for building permits for ADUs. The building department could speak more on those numbers. We will have to, as part of the new law, report those numbers to the state, so we'll be tracking those as they come in. But yes, so the intention of this as a planning process would be to give people the opportunity to have something that looks like the community does already. There's no real way of managing aesthetics through the way that the current law is. The state discourages that, so this is a way to encourage it without imposing it.
Great, thank you. Just one more thing. I see it as a resource in a couple of different ways, and I do think, I agree with Councilor Kelly, sort of like, our residents who may want to build an ADU for their family member, but also as an incentive for a developer that is thinking of developing, areas and kind of incentivizing them to kind of, remain with the character of what is already there. So I do see it as a benefit to our community in multiple ways. Thank you. Thank you.
Councilor Shin, then Councilor Daniels.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I am going to support this initiative. I just want to make sure that the people out there understand that it's a voluntary option that they have to use for building an ADU. I'm not going to say I mistrust government because I'm here as an elected official, but I have yet to see a zoning issue that is something that's not enforceable or, you know what I'm trying to say? Most zoning actions are an enforceable action. So I just want to make sure, that's all. So I'm fully going to support this. I just want to make sure that people understand that this is an option that they can use, but they don't have to. Thank you.
Councilor Daniels.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. This was unanimously reported out of committee.
Any further discussion? If not, all those in favor? Opposed? Unanimous of all present. Moving on to 17, amend the Southbridge Code of Bylaws, Chapter 11, Departmental Revolving Funds, Section 11-500, Authorized Revolving Funds, by eliminating and striking out 11-500.3, Total Maintenance Revolving Fund, Section and all subsections due to the creation of the Solid Waste and Disposal Enterprise Fund. Do we have a motion? No, there's no motion, just a deletion. Discussion? Any amendments?
Mr. Chair, can I make a suggestion that that the article doesn't say vote? That's where it gets confusing.
No, it's supposed to be scratched out. That's why I didn't read it as vote. There's no
Okay.
vote.
All
It's
right.
just a second reading. If you want to amend anything or deal with the chapter and section
Thank you.
of deleting some parts. Any other discussion? If not, we'll consider it the second reading. Moving on to agenda item number 18. Again, the same here. Amend the Southbridge Code of Bylaws, Chapter 11, Department Revolving Funds, Section 11-500, Authorized Revolving Funds by adding the following section. Councilor?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. 11-500.9.1.1 Performance Surety Deposit Revolving Fund. 11-500.9.1 Fund Name. There shall be a separate fund called the Performance Surety Deposit Revolving Fund authorized for use by the municipal treasurer. 11-500.9.2 Revenues. The town accountant shall establish the Performance Surety Deposit Revolving Fund as a separate account. The treasurer may accept cash or non-cash guarantees that may be made to secure performance of the particular obligations. A guarantee would include a letter of credit, performance bond, or insurance policy. 11-500.9.3 Purposes and expenditures. To secure restoration of a public roadway under a street opening permit or completion of work required under a drainage or driveway permit within a specified time. The intent is to return the amount of the deposit if the work is satisfactorily performed, but if there is a default, for the municipality to be able to use it to complete the work if it so chooses. 11-500.9.4 Other requirements/reports, none. 11-500.9.5 Fiscal years. The Performance Surety Deposit Revolving Fund shall operate for fiscal years that begin on or after July 1st, 2024, and that is the second reading, March 3rd, 2025.
Council Marquetti?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Just want to make sure that this one and the previous one, that the first reading was the 24th, not the 23rd. Thank you.
Thank you. Town Manager?
There'll be one change that I know on this. It should be 11-500.9 Performance Surety Deposit Revolving Fund. There shouldn't be a .1.1. So.
We'll have that's a typo. We'll take care of that on the third reading. There's no amendment on this. We'll consider this the second reading. Anybody would like to amend, we usually amend on the third reading. Moving on to agenda item number 19, Council's Forum. Councilor Kelly.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, through you. So I'd just like to comment about what's going on in the world today. A lot of people worried, a lot of people happy, and there's a lot of confusion, I think, out there, what's going on at the federal level. I just like to remind people that the core of our democracy is right here at the local level. And we see a lot of things on TV. Television tends to focus on the macro, so they tend to focus on the federal government. So people who watch the news all day, people who, whether it's CNN or Fox News, they're really getting a macro version of what's going on in the world. But where the rubber meets the road is right here in the local level. What happens here in Southbridge, what happens in your local government is most likely to directly impact you. So I encourage people that if you want to get involved in something, get involved in local government. Come down here, look, I'm looking out right now and I see 3 people in the audience. And why don't we have, if we're so interested in politics, why don't I see this room filled? This is where you can have your voice heard, right here at the local level. Come down here and talk at Citizens Forum if you have something to say. But please, participate. Participate. Don't just scream at each other on Facebook. Thank you.
Councilor Rivas.
Thank you, through you, Mr. Chair. I attended a Southbridge Business Partnership meeting last Wednesday, and I want to just encourage people to send new businesses to their Facebook page to join as members. I'm pleased to see that they have some new ideas on recruiting and marketing the business partnership and ways to sort of welcome more businesses into the community. And so, but there are a lot of businesses that are in town that are not part of the partnership, and I'd love for those businesses to join us. It is a great way to network with other businesses in town and to get support and, have your business have more visibility with, events like Autumn Fest and being part of Autumn Fest. And even if you're a new business and you don't have a brick and mortar space, Autumn Fest is a great way to get known around the community, and then possibly think about opening a location in town. And so I am happy to go to those meetings and be part of the business partnership. And I think that the group is expanding, and I'm seeing much more smaller new businesses being part of the partnership, and that is encouraging to our community. I also want to encourage, and just to bounce off Councillor Kelly and people being involved, we do have an election coming in June, making sure that people who aren't registered to vote, please register, and making sure that your vote is your voice, and not participating doesn't help us change anything in the community, and making sure that if you have people that aren't registered, that they do get registered and participate in our municipal government, at least in that small way. And that is all I have. Thank you.
Councilor Ortiz.
Nothing tonight, thank you.
Surprise. Councilor Senior.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I totally agree with Councilor Kelly and his comments regarding participation and getting involved in your community. It's difficult sometimes to try and understand the way people are feeling when you listen to Facebook, because most of the time you hear negative stuff and you're not sure. You're going to have an opportunity in the very near future at a meeting to voice your concerns about the art. If you don't come to the meeting, voice your concerns, and it moves forward, and you're not happy with it, you've got nothing to complain about if you don't show up. So please, get involved in your community, come to the meetings, and get involved. Thank you.
Councilor Dow.
Nothing at that time, thank you.
Councilor Daniels.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, through you. I also agree with Councilor Kelly and Councilor Rivas. What they've said is straightforward, factual, and I've been hopping on it as well in the past, and I guess we'll keep on hopping on it because it needs to be done, and we need people here. Quite frankly, we need people here. So with the election coming up in June, it's time to start getting aware of who the people are, the candidates are going to be. We need the candidates to step up and make themselves known as well. But we need the people in town to pay attention to who's running, what they're running for, and make their decisions based upon that. Councilor Shenya is right. You have no right to complain if you didn't say anything or step up to begin with when the time was ripe to be stepping up and saying something. On a different note, I'd like to graciously thank Councilor Lazo for the thank yous for being involved with the Rios Park project. It's easy. This is what you run for. This is what you want to be elected to do. This is the fun part. The Rios family has been in town for years and years and years. They suffered a tragic loss, and they wish to make a memorial to their son. I encourage people to stay alert to announcements here at council and to be prepared to donate if they would like to the project. I know that there's already businesses in town that have talked about donating their services. It's a wonderful project, and it's really a nice way of pulling together for a nice family. And again, I thank Councilor Lazo, but this is easy. There's nothing to thank me for. I'm glad to be doing it. And I also thank Councilor Lazo for his co-leading. I guess we're really co-chairs. He's stepped up. He's got some great ideas about what needs to be done, and he's really stepped up and stepped into the fray. So it's a good project. Please be aware of it. And thank you again. That's all I have.
Thank you for those kind words, and it's a pleasure working with you, John. Councilor Marchetti.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I would like to comment about this. Residents should come here and speak their mind if they want to be heard, if they want the councilors to do something. It was just a couple of weeks ago, we had a large number of people out here in the audience, and they did not want us to vote no confidence in the receiver. A lot of them got up there and spoke. The whole room was filled, and yet the councilors voted no confidence anyway. So I can almost understand why people say, why should I bother coming here if what I want to have happen does not happen? I don't see anything wrong with Facebook either. I checked out a lot of those people on Facebook. Most of them lived right here in Southbridge. Maybe they can't come here tonight, but they still have a right to speak out. And why shouldn't they do it on there if when they come here, the councilors don't listen? So the rubber meets the road. It sure does. Unless the councilors don't care, then I guess there's no rubber on the wheels, I guess. I would like to speak about the school building district master plan that we talked about last October. I was just wondering if there was an update on that. Has there been any discussions, any plans on that district master plan at this point? If the town manager wants to get back to me on that, I'd appreciate it. Also, the East Main Street construction that's been ongoing this winter is going to be a major problem this summer. I can see it happening. I went downtown one day, the traffic was backed up all the way to Main Street, all the way to Central Street. So I don't know if we could look at some kind of a bypass. I know the sign says seek alternate routes. There are no other alternate routes. That's the only way down there. You want to get to Big Y, it's going to hurt Big Y, it's going to hurt the whole Fair Plaza, it's going to hurt RMG, it's going to hurt Golden Greek. I know there are a couple of roads that will take you over there, but I'm not sure that they're completed yet. There's one off of Morris Street, goes through the golf course. That is a road, but I don't think it's completed. There's also Tipton Rock. If anybody has gone on Tipton Rock, I have. There's a part where it ends. I don't know. If you look on the assessor's map, it looks like it goes all the way through. But if you try and drive it, there's no way. So there's just got to be a way we can look into. I'd appreciate it if we could have Butch look into providing an alternate way, because it's going to be quite a mess this summer with that construction. I know it has to be done, but I'm just looking for a way to stop this from backing up all the way past the Rotary. And if he wants to answer, that's fine.
I'll wait till you finish.
I'm fine. I'm
Go
good.
ahead.
Thank you.
Thank you, through you. We have already had a meeting on that. We have met with Chris McClure, who's the engineer, Butch, the police department, and the town manager's office to talk about that construction season. We're well aware of it. You're right, there is no easy way. We're talking about ways to at least have some communication out to the public that these are the heavy days. There will be challenges because they are going to be going right through the center of the road to put drainage in. So we're aware of that. We're going to try to mitigate as best we can, some additional signage, and see if smaller cars want to take an alternate route, but we do not want to put large tractor trailers going up past Torrey Road and all that, because that would just hamper those roads. But we have already had a meeting on that to talk about that. The goal is to have this construction done by June, so that it does not go through summer. So that is the goal. That is by the contract, they're asked to be done by June, and that is the goal.
Good to hear. Thank you.
They wanted the roads done. It's going to be very inconvenient, and this is only one of them. This is the worst road that we're going to be paving in the paving plan moving forward. And I tell people, you beat our doors down to do roads, we're doing roads. This one's going to be the most uncomfortable road that you're going to do because of the traffic. There is no way around unless you go Tory, but you just got to bite the bullet, be patient, and then once that main drag's done, then we're going to go Mechanic Street, up Main, down north. You wanted the roads done, you're going to get them done. This council, in the past 5 councils, have put roads in the forefront, and we're going to get them done. And I smile when people complain, because they were complaining more about how bad the road was. So now we're going to complain about what the traffic is. Enjoy the roads being done in your town. They're going to look wonderful when they're done.
Just
Council
looking for
Dow,
a
you had your
way
hand up.
around. That's all. Just looking for a way to bypass it. That's all.
There isn't one.
Thank you, Chair. To you, I agree with Councilor Marquardt. Residents and citizens always have a right to speak. At the meeting, after the meeting, is a free country. You can always say your opinion make a comment, but not necessarily it's right. Regardless, the people was full here. It was only 2 from Southbridge and the rest from out of town. I agree with you, was a lot of people attend. They don't have no clue about our school system. They only hiring you 6 months, 1 year, not either. And they come here to support because it's a new hiring. And it was 97, 98% doesn't live in town. That's why we continue our vote.
Councilor Montague.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. That was great, Councilor Dow. It was exactly what I was going to mention. The previous speaker said something about the full chambers of non-residents. I wanted to bring up the schools tonight because we're going into a hard budget season here where we've already been told that health insurance is going up and we're going to have to pay around $700,000 for that. We need to find some money for that on the town side. And then, you know, minimum school expenditure is going to go up a little bit, and there's nothing we can do to really cut the school budget. So I think in the spirit of everybody taking a hard look at government money and your tax dollars and where they're going, I think there needs to be a little more accountability on the school side for how they're spending their money. So I just want to bring everybody back a little bit to understand what the vote of no confidence and how it came about. We had that early December meeting, myself, the chairman, town manager, other members of the school committee with Russell Johnston, where they had some pushback on subcommittees and all those things. We've told you about this. And then a week later, Commissioner Johnston announced that he's not going to be coming back as acting commissioner. A month and a half goes by. We're waiting for a meeting in early February. Had a couple resignations from the school committee and for good reason. And at the end of January, on the 27th, we did the vote of no confidence. It passed with a 2/3 majority. And the following week, on February 3rd, we had new school committee members appointed. And then on February 5th, Russell Johnston canceled the meeting we were supposed to have with us due to snow. He's failed to reschedule, and apparently is all set for his next term somewhere else. And February 7th, they bring out some good news. They announced that Jill Lombardi won the Milken Educator Award, which she very well deserves. And I just want people to understand that this award coming out doesn't shine a positive light on anything that Dr. Villar or his administration has done. And I'm probably one of the only qualified people that I can tell you that, not because I'm a former member of the school committee or the chairman of Education and Human Services, but because when Dr. Villar hired me in 2018 to fill a 6th grade science vacancy, I taught half the 6th grade, while first-year teacher Jill Lombardi taught the other half of the 6th grade. And she wrote my curriculum because I wasn't prepared to jump into science. That's not my forte, but I helped out where I could. So I watched her take leadership roles on she was the tennis coach. She totally revitalized that program and her team on the other team. I was on the other half. And there was no support at all from central office. Dr. Villar is lucky that he has his name as superintendent on this award for his educator, Jill Lombardi. She deserves this award on her own merit and her own talents, and I'm glad she won it. Now, fast forward to today, we have no meeting with the state. The state hasn't had a permanent commissioner in how long? And now the turnover is in their court. So the whole thing is still a mess. Nothing good is happening. Their budget is going up. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to be requesting all the positions in administration and in central office, their job descriptions and their salary amounts. Don't even really need to know their names. Just need to know where the misuse of your state, federal, and local tax dollars are going on this school side, because you can't cut minimum school expenditure, but you certainly can hold Dr. Villar accountable for misuse of government money in putting everything at the top and not giving teachers the proper support that they need, or our children. Thank you very much.
Mr. Chairman, you gave them a chance to speak after I spoke.
Just raise your hand.
Okay, I'm raising my hand.
Go ahead, Councilor.
So,
you're very cranky tonight. Calm down.
In the words of Councilor Lazo, this is the biggest bunch of bullshit I ever heard. A lot of those people that were out there in the audience, a lot of them I knew, and they were residents. The other ones who were speaking, they were town employees. Are you going to tell me now we can't listen to town employees? They don't matter? As far as Counselor Montigny goes, I guess next he's going to be coming out with his chainsaw, jumping up and down, saying, oh, let's cut this and let's cut that.
They're stuck on the national level. They could
Yeah,
keep it
yeah,
local.
whatever. I just think it's...
Councilor Marquetti, I understand
I'm
your
all done.
frustration.
Thank you very much.
I understand your frustration. I think what we have to understand is, even when we had a packed chamber, whether we agreed or disagreed with speakers in town, out of town, whatever it was, we listened to everybody. And the thing is, when we listened to everybody, everybody got to talk. We didn't shut anybody off, and then we voted our conscience what we thought was going on. If anybody thinks being the lowest MCAS scores in the state is an accomplishment, you got to go back to school. It's got to change. We need our schools in charge of our own schools, in our own destiny. Everybody knows that. How we get there, there's the problem. State's got a revolving door. That's what they said they took us over for. Now they have the revolving door at the commissioner's level. I sit back and I look at it. I think Councilor Kelly today said it best. The state and federal government are out of touch. Where the tire hits the road is right here in local government. Whether we always agree or disagree, or wherever you get your information or I get mine, we try to serve the local people the best we can. I know we don't always agree, and I know we have different ways of getting our information. Going forward, let's just keep going. This town has turned the corner. Whether we agree on Villar or the schools, despite that, the roads are getting done. The sewer plant has a new contractor. DPW is being reorganized. Our finance department is back. Shake your head all you want. What's happened in the last 6 years has been great accomplishments. We're heading in the right direction. We're not there yet, but we will continue to work on it. And if other people want to run for office, run for office. It's a great experience. And then, people that don't want to hold office, why don't you grab yourself a candidate that's running and hang some signs and work for those candidates? Whatever candidate you like. It's a matter of choice. And I think we're all going to make our own choices. Tonight we had issues that we don't all agree on. But you have to smile at one another and know one thing.
My road's
We
not
don't get paid to do this job, and we do a lot of work and put a lot of time in.
My road's not getting done. That's the only reason I'm shaking my head.
It's because you're on the council. That's conflict of interest.
Yeah.
Just kidding, Counselor. Just kidding. We need to get a sense of humor. All right, I'm moving on to agenda item number 20, discussion of the next meeting date. Mr. Vice Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The next meeting date is Monday, March 17th, 2025 at 7 p.m. in the Town Council chambers.
21, adjournment.
So moved.
Motion by Senior, seconded by Dow. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Unanimous vote, President.
I might not be here.